Hi, it's Dr. Lori. I'm back with more real bargains. That's right. These are the bargains that people like you are finding at thrift stores, estate sales, yard sales, all over. You can find this stuff. I'm showing it to you. Go and get it. So, here are some of the things that people have found and what they resold them for and what they're worth. It's amazing. My first real bargain comes from a video caller and a piece that she bought at an estate sale. She bought a big jewelry lot at an estate sale. A lot of you guys are doing this. It's a good idea if you can afford it, and then you resell it piecemeal or you start a big collection in one shot. So, this wasn't from an estate sale jewelry lot. And it's this ring. This is a gold and sapphire and diamond ring. Beautiful, round, brilliant cut accent diamonds, the small ones, they're round, brilliant cut, all tested with the gem tester, in fact, too. 14 karat gold ring. And then, in fact, you're also seeing these beautiful blue sapphires, all set about 3 to 4 carats total weight, 3.5 total carat weight. So beautiful. Here's what happened. The jewelry was in an estate sale, and it was in a big garbage bucket. So imagine those big plastic garbage barrels. And in those barrels was, in fact, little tiny plastic bags with a piece of jewelry in the bag. And they put them into this huge barrel that you'd put leaves in when you're basically cleaning up the leaves around the yard. So they put them in the little plastic bags. They put them in the barrel. So my video caller goes up and says, I want the whole barrel. So they said, well, we'll have to weigh it. We'll let you buy it by weight. Well, the barrel of jewelry weighed, you ready, 300 pounds. And she paid $700 for all of it. So she took the whole barrel with all of these little plastic bags, with every plastic bag had a piece of jewelry in it, home, 700 bucks. So she got this particular piece for just about $1, you know, if you break it down. This piece is beautiful for many reasons. It's obviously marked 14 karat gold. The sapphires were tested, and they're about 3.5 total carat weight. The diamonds were tested. Those brilliant cut diamonds that are accent stones, they were tested. Also beautiful. And you'll notice that the ring was very well and professionally made. Look at the back of the ring. This is a tip for those of you who don't know much about jewelry and fine jewelry and rings. In fact, a very, very big ring like this on one side that would be presenting on one side of your hand usually is much smaller on the other side or thinner on the other side for comfort. You don't want this big, huge kind of, almost like a pipe on your hand. So better jewelry will make it better jewelers will actually make it much thinner on the back side of your hand rather than what the piece looks on the front. She paid $1. What's it worth? $1,250. Wow, that was a real bargain. She got actually more money out of this one ring than what she paid for that whole 300-pound bucket full of jewelry. This next real bargain comes from a video caller and an auction. She purchased this particular ring at an auction. Now, when you see a ring like this is usually called solitaire setting. The setting is basically just the one stone, featuring the one stone, a beautiful piece. And my video caller made me laugh because what she said to me was, Dr. Lori, you know what? I don't pay more than $1 for anything ever. She said this was a big investment for me because I broke my rule and I paid more than $1. I thought that was great. She said that she has that rule, she sticks to that rule, and she's done very well like that. The ring is a green sapphire. So you've probably heard of blue sapphires and other colored sapphires, sometimes white sapphires, but basically this is a green sapphire. It's set in a sterling silver setting, which is unmarked. I told her she may want to test that setting for white gold. So this particular piece is a beautiful example of a solitaire setting and a nice piece. But she said, as I told you, she broke her rule of her $1 rule. She paid $9 for the piece at the auction. She said nobody else was bidding on it. I figured, if I stay under $10, I guess I won't feel too bad. It's approximately 1 carat and it's a green sapphire. Green sapphires are not all that common. And this one's worth, for her $9 investment, $850. It's a real bargain too. A beautiful piece, unusual color too. With a lot of colored gemstones, that's what people look for. They look for the specific colors. The different colors are important, like Kashmiri sapphires and that kind of thing. This next real bargain comes from a video call, and this video caller said that she likes estate sales. She likes to go to estate sales. She likes to look around. She likes to talk to the people at the estate sales and learn about their lives. I thought that was really great, and a lot of you do that. You meet new friends. You know, I had one woman who said to me, you know, I met someone who was the niece of a buyer, of a jewelry buyer, and I got a lot of other pieces from her. I bought a lot of other pieces from her after we made a friendship developed at an estate sale. So I think that's great. So this video caller, in fact, was at the estate sale, and she was talking to the estate sale folks, and they said that they were a military couple. They had lived in Alaska. They had purchased pieces there. And this particular piece was from their home in Alaska. And now they had moved to a different part of the country and they were selling some of these pieces. So she looked at this bowl and she said, I really liked it. I couldn't believe it still had the original price tag on it of what they paid for it when they were stationed in Alaska, and the original label from the Makora Cross Snow Polish hand-blown art glass firm. So the original glass blowing firm's Makora label was on it, and the price tag was on it. The price tag was $215 when the couple bought it all those years ago. It was in beautiful condition. It's about 14 inches in diameter. When I did the video call, I said, it's a beautiful piece of Polish blown glass. It's got a nice element, it's got a nice color, and it's using the complementary colors of orange against blue. So it's really a nice design work as well. It has that nice swirl decoration, and it's a pretty significantly large bowl, which impacts value. I asked, what did you pay? She said, I paid $20 for it. And I said, it's worth $250. The price tag says $215 from when they bought it, and it went up a little bit in value, worth $250 on today's market. All the values are retail based on actual sales records at the time of the taping. This next real bargain comes from a video call, and this was a Goodwill Blue Box. You know about the Goodwill Blue Boxes. That's right. So this came from a Goodwill Blue Box where my video caller purchased the blue box, and then she goes through it, and then she keeps some items, and then she sells other items. She said these were a little bit confusing for her. She does her testing. She's very, very diligent, and she didn't really think much of them when she first saw them, but she figured, well, I'm going to do a video call with Dr. Lori, and we're going to have me take my look and weigh in on what I think. So I said, well, did you test them with the Presidium Gem Tester, which is right here, which you can, of course, get through our website at drloriv.com. I do get compensation when you purchase an item of my recommended products like that. But the Presidium Gem Tester, she said, yes, it helps me a lot because it make sure that I know what these gems are. So she said, I'm having a little trouble with identifying what's what. So I watched her as she's testing it, and it was a tourmaline. These two earrings have set tourmalines in them. They're large scale. They're very nice in their color. They have sort of a golden orange color, and they're tourmalines, and that's what they tested on the Presidium Gem Tester, and other elements indicate that that's the case. They also had white topaz accents. Now you might think those are diamonds, but in fact when tested they came up as white topaz, which is something that a lot of jewelers will do. She said, well, there's no mark on the gold, so I tested the gold too, and it came out to be 10 karat gold using the gold testing kit. I said, okay, so you've tested everything and now you know what you've got. She said, I really liked them. And I said, you know why, what one of the tip-offs I told her to look for in the future was the way in which the constructed hinge of the back of the actual earring is, because that hinge is literally going to help all of you look for quality. A hinge like that on the pierced ear that acts as the backing of the pierced earring is going to be a good element to find if you have a piece of quality fine jewelry. And she did. Tourmalines, white topaz, the pair is a match set, and of course they're set in 10 karat gold. She said, I paid about $1, Dr. Lori. It came from a Goodwill Blue Box, so I get a lot of stuff in one box. And the box itself is worth about $40. So value on it, it's worth $600 for the pair. Make sure you have the pair. And what oftentimes happens with the Goodwill Blue Boxes, sometimes the next box you get, if you buy two of them back to back, sometimes the pair is in the next box. I've seen that happen for some of my clients and my, of course, fans. So look around and make sure before you give up hope when you're looking through Goodwill Blue Boxes. If you bought two, the pair to an earring might be in the second box. That does happen. But that was a real bargain too. These dated to the latter part of the 20th century. My next real bargain comes from a brand name that you know. It's Lalique. That's right. Came from a video caller who bought this at an estate sale. And she said, Dr. Lori, I bought a large lot of jewelry. I'm finding that a lot of you are doing this. A lot of you are saying, you know what, I'm going to buy a large lot and then I'm going to go through it. I'm going to do my due diligence researching. If you need help from me, you're going to get help from me with video calls or my priority Ask Dr. Lori service or submitting a photo to the website at drloriv.com. And then you're taking those items and you're either reselling them piecemeal or you're using them for your own, excuse me, enjoyment. Having said that, she bought a large jewelry lot and she got this along with some other vanity items. And this piece is, of course, a perfume bottle with the original stopper in the Cactus Blossom style by Lalique. It's marked Lalique. It has the Lalique sticker on it. She said it was just beautiful, and I was so happy that the stopper wasn't cracked or chipped or broken. Stoppers take a lot of beating, you know, they take a lot of hits, basically, with these particular decanters, if it's barware, or jewelry pieces like trinket boxes, but mostly perfume bottles with the stoppers take a lot of beating. So oftentimes they have cracks or chips. She said, I scrutinized that piece. I looked at that piece and there was nothing wrong with it. I was so happy to have the opportunity to buy it. And I bought it. I said, what did you pay? She said, I paid about $5 for it because it was part of this big jewelry lot from the estate sale. I told her it was worth $250. That's what the stopper and the perfume bottle by Lalique sells for on the market today. That was a real bargain too. This next real bargain has a wonderful story, as all of them do, because they talk about your success and how well you're doing in following the channel, learning the marks, learning information here, having some fun, and going out and treasure hunting. This one was a treasure hunt from a video caller who went to a thrift store that's run by a church organization. So she went into this thrift store and she said, you know, Dr. Lori, I was looking for jewelry and I looked at the cases and I looked at the jewelry and I didn't really like much that I saw. She said, so I looked in the case and then all of a sudden I saw this wall and it had all these brooches on it, many brooches on a wall, and the pins were kind of stuck so you could see the front of the pin only. So all those brooches were sitting there. And she said, so I started looking and I saw one that I recognized that said Monet, and I saw another one that I recognized from the channel and from your website articles, Makora, because you list all of these different costume jewelry designer names. And then I saw this one and it was hanging vertically. Was hanging up and down, and I kept looking at it and it kind of drew me to it. And she just said it drew me to it and it looked like hieroglyphics or something. She said I couldn't really make out what it was. So I went over to it and I picked it up off that wall, off that display, and I looked at it vertically, and then I realized, and I looked at the back and I saw this C-clasp. And I've told you about the C-clasp on pins before. That C-clasp indicates that it is an early pin, that it's made in the early part of the 20th century. The C-clasp, the clasp that looks like the pin goes under into the letter C, is of course an early type of clasp for brooches. She said, I looked at it, and then all of a sudden I realized that I should turn it horizontally, and that actually it really was supposed to be horizontal, not vertical, the way they had it up on the board. She said, when I looked at it horizontally, my jaw dropped because it said the word Belle, or the name Belle, B-E-L-L-E, kind of like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. So she said, but for me, my jaw dropped because that's a family name for me. She said, I sat there and I said, all of these are only $1 a piece. I'm buying this just because it relates to a family member of mine. I thought that was wonderful. She said, so I didn't really think much of it. It was unmarked. I saw the C clasp, but I didn't really know. I was just so happy to see that name, and I was so happy to see that it was supposed to go horizontally, not vertically. I started to understand what it was, and then for $1, I figured I had nothing to lose. And she did have nothing to lose. So she gets home, she realizes that it's handmade. We're talking on the video call, and she said she tested it, and it showed that it was 10-karat white gold. A little more research also showed that the word Belle, or the name Belle, was a very popular name in the late 19th century and the early 20th century. So in the 1880s to about 1900, lots of little girls were named Belle. And interestingly enough, it probably was a pin for someone named Belle, but it related to her family lineage too. This piece was, of course, a wonderful piece in 10-karat white gold, and you can see the inscription, you can see all the decoration with the flowers. It was a big brooch, pretty large too, And it had that C-class that dated it to the early years of the 20th century. She paid $1. What's it worth? $250. That was a beautiful real bargain too, and one that's going to be specifically important just for her. This next real bargain comes from a video call and a gentleman who buys lost in the mail items. So you probably heard about this. They are lost in the mail. Something loses, a tag or a label or whatever it might be, gets lost in the mail, and it goes off to this central area, and these pieces are then resold. So he said, well, I had an opportunity to buy a pallet, Dr. Lori, a whole pallet, thousands of items that were lost in the mail. And this was in one of the big areas of the pallet. He said, I saw it and I thought it was just somebody's sort of sculpture for the garden. I almost put it out in my garden thinking I'll just put it in the backyard and look at it for a while. But it had an unusual shape, so I started to look into it a little bit, and then I figured I better call you. He said, what I looked into was I thought it might be a piece of concrete or a piece of cement that was molded or carved, because I wasn't really sure. And then I started to identify and realize that maybe it was something from the natural world. Indeed it was. It's a whale vertebrae. So it's actually a whale vertebrae that is carved. It was pretty common for the First Nations peoples of Canada, the Native American peoples of the Inside Passage of Alaska, to carve whale vertebrae, just like this. And when I saw this piece on the video call, I said, so if you got thousands of pieces, he said, I bought a pallet for $1,200. There were thousands of pieces, so each piece is about $1 a piece or just a little bit more. I said, well, that's pretty good for this big piece of sculpture. And it's, of course, from the first peoples, right, of Canada. I said, when you look at the face and you identify the faces, the sculpture and how the actual shape of the face is, the broadness of the nose, the way of the eyes, the look of the mouth, I said, this one originates in Canada. It is not a piece that you would find typically carved in Alaska or parts of the Pacific Northwest. He said, oh, well, that helps me a lot in my listing. I help a lot of you with your listings of being able to, when you're going to resell something, I'm going to tell you, in fact, what the specifics are that you need to for identification so you can write a listing that attracts more buyers. This piece is a whale vertebrae. He paid about $1 for it in the Lost in the Mail palette. It was a real bargain too. What's it worth? $2,500. That's right, this beautiful native carving from Canada, $2,500. That's what it's worth. I'm Dr. Lori. That's Real Bargains. I hope you find your real bargain real soon.